Abe Gonzalez writes, what's a movie that gives you nostalgia of your childhood?
First Transformers for me. I was that kid who, for those of you who remember the original Transformers when they came in the toys, their boxes were, they were a square box with a clear transparent, part of the front was clear transparent so you can see the toy inside obviously. But then on the side it had this illustration of the character. Then on the back it had this power bar of the character. And what I would do is, not only would I buy all the Transformers, I would cut out the big picture of the character, cut out the power bar, and cut out the part where it said its name, and I'd put those up on my wall. So my entire wall, one wall in my bedroom, was all Autobots and Decepticons with their power bar meters and their names. Clearly, as a 13-year-old kid, I didn't, well, let's face it, until I was in my 20s, I didn't have a lot of girls coming into my bedroom. So yeah, having those on my wall. So yeah, when I first saw Transformers, and when I saw the Hobbit, the first Lord of the Rings film, both of those films instantly took me back to my childhood and when I was younger. And I just, for those reasons, I love those ones. Anyway, what about you, Mark?
I'd say A Clockwork Orange, Citizen Kane. No, I'm going to go with a film called Flight of the Navigator. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but it's a really fun movie. Awesome. It's got a space element. It's got a little bit of a time travel element. This kid, David Faraday, he goes off and he wakes up and it's 8 years, I believe, later than when he passed out, and what's going on. And there's this alien Max that's voiced by Paul Rubens, Pee Wee Herman, and it's a really, really fun movie. And I think it might have been the first time I saw a movie in the theater.
And it had a really great spaceship.
Yeah.
It was like both
really
practical and CG. It was amazing. For me, it's Empire Strikes Back. That just is my, as a kid, waiting. I had sent away to get that Boba Fett in the mail. I didn't know who Boba Fett was going to be. So for me, like, that anticipation, and when I finally got him, I still have photos that I took, you know, in the sand, playing with all the characters of him flying, like, who is he? And then, you know, he's not a big character in the movie. It doesn't even matter. It's for when you're a little kid, it gives you that imagination. And for me, that going to see that film 13 times, walking through the summer, my parents let me go and walk to the theater, which was like 2 miles away. So it was like, it was a pretty cool, magical experience for me. So anything that surrounds Empire Strikes Back is like super nostalgic. So I hate all the toy people because they made like a giant Boba Fett that's just like the one I had as a kid. So of course I had to buy it because it's like the size that I was when I was a kid. So I was like,
I remember when Empire Strikes Back for me is another good one because I remember my Italian aunt Pina, she took me to, I believe it was the Tivoli Theater in Hamilton, Ontario, to go see Empire Strikes Back. I was just a young kid to go see it for the first time, and I still remember because when we walked in just a few seconds late, we walked in just as the Star Destroyers flying overhead and the probe droids start dropping down, going off the different directions. And it's like, so now whenever I see that, it just takes me back to when I was sitting in that theater with my aunt beside me watching that again.
Superman 2 is also another one for me that's like super nostalgic, you know?
All right, what's next?
Brian Miller writes, do you think George Lucas still would have sold Lucasfilm to Disney if he hadn't botched the prequels?
Wow, good question, because look, George Lucas is, from all accounts, I've met him once, he's, from all accounts, a sweet, nice guy. Total control freak with his property, which is why Star Wars was able to get made, which is why the Indiana Jones films were able to get made. But a really sweet guy. And from everything I understand, people think he doesn't listen to fans. He does listen to fans. He doesn't do what they want. He's not subservient to the fans, but he listens. And I know that the hatred that all of us, including me, shot at George Lucas, I know that was very hurtful for him. I think that was extremely hurtful for him. And that's a great question. If it was not for the prequels, and not so much the fact that he botched them, but our reaction to the botching of the prequels, if it wasn't for that, would he have sold Star Wars? I'm going to guess not. It's actually a great question. Now, then again, I wasn't offered, what was it, $4 billion?
$4 billion, yeah.
Plus probably back end and all future Star Wars properties? Maybe I would have anyway, but it's a great question. Do you guys see it any differently?
I don't think he sells. If he made the prequels and the prequels were as great as the original trilogy, I don't think there's any way that he sells the rights. I don't think that happens. I think
he passes it on to his kids at that point.
Yeah, and I think maybe his kids make a decision if he passes away, and then they're like, oh no, we think that there should be more movies. But I think if he made 6 legendary all-time movies, I don't think he's selling. I think he walks off into the sunset. So it's actually, in a way, it's kind of cool that the prequels weren't great because now we get The Force Awakens in December.
I think if he didn't make those prequels, and maybe even going back a little bit further, like if he didn't insulate himself and become King George, if he allowed, I mean, I read up a lot about him, just all of us have. Gary Kurtz, a lot of falling outs with producers who were there to like kind of body check him a little bit on like, you sure you want to do that? Don't you want to keep true to the story that we started telling like 7 years ago? Why are you changing it to sell toys? Why are you? There's certain things that he kind of went against, and it almost turned into his dad. You know, I mean, there's these weird things. So like him eventually selling it, I mean, it makes sense because of what happened. But if we went back in time and he made the trilogy and it was a different way, if it came out earlier, who knows? These are all things we'll never know. But I'm glad he sold it. So.
Hey everyone, if you liked this video, click that thumbs up button and make sure to subscribe to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It's free and helps you stay up to date with all the latest movie news, as well as our daily AMC movie talk show. Also, make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with all of our special promotions, contests, and prize giveaways.